Today is July 9th, 2025. This is Read Through the Bible.
Hi, everyone. Today is our recap edition of the book of Deuteronomy.
Yep, and so if you missed it this morning, we put out the final readings of the final two chapters in Deuteronomy 33 and 34. You might want to go back and do that.
Right, so we have 2 episodes dropping today. End of Deuteronomy, and then the recap of Deuteronomy. And tomorrow, on Thursday, we will start the book of Luke.
Yep, I'm super excited for that. Getting the life of Jesus is going to be great. Okay, so what we're trying to do with these recap editions, you've written out summaries. They might be like really long, and they're kind of just go through maybe, or you've got so deep into the summaries, you've kind of missed the book of Deuteronomy.
Mm-hmm. Right, so we want to step back. We want to set our drone up and go up and hover over the book of Deuteronomy and get the big picture.
And essentially, we are summarizing our summaries.
Right.
Like as we prepared for this, we looked at our summaries and we said, okay, like what's most important here? How can we make it shorter? What is unique in each of these chapters? Like as short as we could. So, like I know I aimed for 5 words or less. Mm-hmm. That was not always the case, but for these summaries, that's kind of about what we're talking about. And oftentimes, in these summaries, right, we want to pick like the unique things. So like if you kind of go through here, you want to catch what is particularly unique in that chapter.
Right. And we're going to leave a lot of things out.
Yeah,
that's just how it is.
That's just how, yeah, for sure. Okay.
So talking about our drone, like I think it's good to recap like where we are in the Bible. Mm-hmm. So we've had Genesis and Exodus and Numbers have told us the story. Leviticus filled in the details of the law. And Deuteronomy is happening right before the Israelites are going to go into the promised land. They've been wandering from Egypt, 40 years in the wilderness. Now they're about to cross into the land, and Moses has led them, and he's about to die. And so he is pleading with them to remember what a great God they have, all the amazing things God has done for them, and remember the law that he has graciously given them to be a unique people. And so Moses is just pleading with them to remember. Yeah,
this is a pastor preaching his final year of sermons.
Yes.
So Deuteronomy takes place in only 1 year, from the 40th year of Moses when he led the people of Israel out of Egypt, and then they wandered for 40 years. This is then the last year.
Right, they're in the land of Moab, and he's pleading with them.
And so he's giving them the final instructions. So it is important that you know Genesis, it covers from the creation of the world up until Abraham, which is thousands of years, and then it covers Abraham's family, which is a couple hundred years.
Abraham,
and then Exodus,
Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph.
Yeah, and Exodus takes you a couple hundred years. 400 years. But Leviticus is kind of timeless. Mm-hmm. So Leviticus doesn't carry the storyline of Israel, but then Numbers carries you for another 40 years. So that carries a timeline. But here, Deuteronomy doesn't carry the timeline. So it's just helpful to know Genesis, Exodus, and Numbers are like storyline books of the Old Testament history.
Yes.
And we will go back about this also when we finish like 2 Kings. We'll probably go back and talk about all the historical books that carry the storyline of Israel.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy is not one of those.
Right.
Okay, so we've kind of got where Deuteronomy is the last book of the law. After this, no more of these.
Also called the Pentateuch.
Because it has 5 books. Penta means 5 books. And so we're done with a lot of these laws, and we're going to get a lot of stories coming up. It's going to be a little bit easier, but you've endured this long, you can keep going. Okay, so now we look at Deuteronomy itself. We picked up like Deuteronomy 4, verses 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Which I think
that's been some of my favorite discovery this time through Deuteronomy.
Absolutely. We both discovered it pretty well. And I think this is kind of the outline that we're going to go with. Why don't you read those?
Okay. Deuteronomy 4, verses 7 and 8 says, "For what great nation is there that has a God so near to it as the Lord our God is to us, whenever we call upon him? And what great nation is there that has statutes and rules so righteous as all this law that I set before you today?"
So I think just those 2 ideas. What a great God and what a great law. Mm-hmm. And if you look at things, what a great God really takes you through chapter 11. The first 11 chapters of Deuteronomy speak about just what God did in the history of Israel and how God was faithful to them and how he chose them and how he guided them and gave them victory, and how he was unique in the sense that he wasn't like the gods of the nations. Like, what a great God we have. Yep. He's guided us thus far.
Yep.
And then beginning 12 and following, what a great law. Like, just...
And it goes into the details of the
oh
law.
my goodness, yeah, just a lot like Exodus and Leviticus, but
Right.
but the idea here is what a great law we have. This
Right.
as God was giving to this new generation of people how it is they ought to live.
Right, and it makes them a unique, distinct, chosen, special people that this is how God chose to shape them.
Yep, and then really in chapter 27 is where things change a little bit. It's sort of like the last recap where Moses says, okay, in conclusion, here's what's going to happen, and how you obey and you'll be blessed, and how various covenants and curses and warnings and blessings, kind of wrapping things up from 27 and following. So I've just put keep the covenant is sort of what I said.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just go through, right? What a great God we have. We're just going to talk 1 through 11. We're going to give you, like, if you want to pause this and write down things, you're more than welcome to do that. I've written this down in the white space in my book after Deuteronomy, just in a real small way. Okay, so in chapters 1 and 2, we both have events of the wilderness. And in chapter 1...
wilderness failures. In chapter 2, wilderness wanderings.
Yep. So just even there, it just shows what a great God we have. That even though we failed, God still kept us in the wilderness. And then in chapter 3, it's the conquering of the land east of the Jordan. Is Sihon king of Heshbon and Og king of Bashan are close by there.
Right.
And then chapter 4
is God is unique, make no idols.
Yeah, and the idea there was that you didn't see him, all you heard was a voice. He's so different than any of these other idolatry gods that you have that you make. God is one, he's not able to be seen. He's different. He's unique.
Right.
Okay, chapter 5.
Okay, 5 is basically the story of the giving of the 10 Commandments.
Yep, super easy. Chapter 6.
The Shema.
Yeah, we wrestle with this a little bit, but the Shema is a great Hebrew word that you need to know. It means hear, Shema Yisrael. And this is chapter 6, verse 4. It's super important for all the Jewish people. And the Shema is where it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And teach them to your children.
Yeah.
Which also comes up in chapter 11 as well. But just the Shema, we feel like Deuteronomy 6. You just need to know that Shema.
Yep.
Okay. Chapter 7.
7, we have God... Let's see.
God chose Israel. You can't read your writing.
Yeah.
God chose Israel because he loved Israel.
Yes,
there's a great section there in chapter 7 just speaks about it's not because you were great. It's not because I loved you, and that's the whole story of Abraham is that he just chose him out of all the nations of the earth.
Right. Like, don't boast. It wasn't anything great about you.
Yeah.
God just said, I just chose you.
Yep. And chapters 8 and 9 are all about just remembering how this great God helped you. In the land, and just know that God is the one, chapter 8, who fed you and led you.
Yes, and that's what he did for them. It was miraculous how he provided for them in the wilderness. Yep. He led them and fed them.
Yeah, chapter 9.
Okay, chapter 9, remember, it wasn't your righteousness.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like chapter 7, but it's another one of just reminding them it's not because of their righteousness that he chose them, because they were not righteous. They were stubborn people, and very rebellious.
And the tendency, when God blesses you and brings you into the land, is like, oh, look at how good people we are. No, it's not. And he gives some examples there later about
like
the golden calf
in Kadesh Barnea.
Yeah, just the things. But you just need to remember, and this is, right, you need to remember this in Christ too. It's not our righteousness that we're ever made. This is Titus 3:5. It's not because of righteous things that we've done, but it's God's mercy that has done this. And that's the whole idea of chapter 9. Okay, in chapter 10, then we have...
new tablets.
The new tablets given. So that's very same to chapter 5 as the Ten Commandments.
Right.
Chapter 10 is also the Ten Commandments, but this is when he got the new tablets after destroying them after the golden calf
is mentioned in chapter 9.
Yep. Okay, and then chapter 11, here's like one of the unique things. I said, obey and God will give you rain. Now, in chapter 11, there are some similar things, just like the Shema in chapter 6, about how you shall, verse 18, bind them as a sign in your hand, they should be as frontlets between your eyes, you teach them diligently to your children, sitting by your house, walking by the way. A lot of things in chapter 11 are similar to 6. You can put Shema 2 maybe, but it doesn't even have that phrase. But it's just something about just obeying God, and I just said, God will give you the rain. That's a blessing, that's a unique thing. Okay, and then we transition. That's what a great God we have, and we should obey him and follow him with all these things. And then 12, through 26 has to do with what a great law we have.
Right, so details of the law.
Yep, and one commentary we looked at just talked about how 1 through 11 is looking back.
Right.
And then 12 through 26
is looking up. So you're looking up at God's law.
Yeah, I almost say kind of look down at the law, what's written, and obey that. Like you could look. And then 27 and following is
looking forward,
like anticipating. Yeah. So 12 begins this section and it ends in 26. It's interesting how verse 12 starts. These are the statutes and the rules that you should be careful to do in the land that the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you to possess. So it's like when you get into the land, these are the laws you need to follow. In chapter 26, it speaks about when you come into the land. So there are some parallels here. Okay, so chapter 12, when you enter the land, you need to
worship. So the Lord's chosen place of worship.
Yep, worship in the place that God will choose. Chapter 13.
Stone the ones who lead you astray.
Yep, still the one who says, let's go serve other gods. Like, don't tolerate any idolatry.
Which really is an expansion of the first and second commandments.
Yep.
Do not worship any other gods. Do not make any idols. And if there are people who are trying to lead you to do that, you need to stone them.
Yeah, chapter 14 is
eating regulations and tithing.
Yep, this is like your Leviticus chapter 11. Okay, chapter 15.
The Sabbath year, debts canceled.
Yep, those are monetary debts. There's also people, like slaves, are released in that chapter as well. But Sabbath year is what you need to remember, every seventh year. Okay, chapter 16 is
celebrate feasts.
Yep, and there are several feasts given here in chapter 16, like the Passover and the Feast of Weeks and the Feast of Booths. But if you just remember, it's the feasts. Chapter 16, this is like Leviticus chapter 23. I think it's 23. Okay, chapter 17 is
rules for kings.
Yep, there's a lot of laws in here, things to do, but the kings is very unique about how you should establish a king and what a king should do.
Yeah.
Chapter 18. I'll say this because
you came up with this.
Yeah, I came up with this. This is a lot of P's. Portions for priests and the promised prophet. So that's what it's like. What you give the Levites, and then Moses says a prophet will rise up just like me. Okay, chapter 19 is the 3 western refuge cities. And so there are 6 of these cities, 3 east of the Jordan and 3 west of the Jordan. And this is establishing the cities to the west of the Jordan when you come in and conquer. Okay, chapter 20.
War instructions.
Yeah. It's just who goes out to war and how you fight a war. Like when it's a near city, you need to destroy it. When it's a far city, seek peace with it. That's all I'll give in there. Okay, so here, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, they're all the same.
They're various laws. We were trying to pick out the highlights and we just finally said we're just going to call it all various laws.
Yep, and it's just, here's the idea. What a great law we have, and he's guiding you in all these different areas. We can't even summarize them because some of them are small, some of them are big, but they're all over different cases and things like that. Yep. Okay, in chapter 26, when you come into land is the big idea in chapter 26, verse 1, and we said offer the first fruits of land. When you come, offer the first thing to God.
Okay, 27, curses.
Okay, so here, now we're next section, right? What a great God we have, 1 through 11. What a great law we have, 12 to 26. And now we're looking forward, keep the covenant.
Yeah, law about blessings and curses.
Yeah, maybe what a great future we have or something, I don't know.
That's good.
That comes off. Okay, chapter 27 is
curses on Mount Ebal.
Yep, Mount Ebal is mentioned several times in that chapter. That's helpful. Gerizim was the blessings, but hardly mentions that here. But Ebal are the curses. We'll see that in Joshua.
Okay, 28 has blessings, and then a lot of the chapter is spent on severe curses.
Yeah, blessings and severe curses. Okay, 29.
The covenant renewed in Moab.
Yep. So I think that's exactly what the ESV title says, but I thought that was really good. Because it says covenant in Moab. What covenant is it? Oh, this is a renewal of the covenant that you had in Mount Sinai, kind of renewing it. Okay, chapter 30.
Choose life, not death.
Yep. This is Moses pleading. Here, the final thing, right? Choose life. Choose the blessing, not the curse. Chapter 31.
Joshua commissioned. So he's going to be the next leader to take over for Moses.
Yep. And then we saw chapter 32, this is Moses' song of the history and warning about what you're going to do.
Warning.
33 is like Jacob did in Genesis 49, is the blessings of Moses. Moses blesses the 12 tribes of Israel. And then chapter 34.
Moses dies, Joshua leads.
And trying to keep this under 15 minutes. We just failed, just a little bit over. But I trust you will forgive us. Moses dies, Joshua leads. And we are done with the law. We've recapped it all. And we're going to start tomorrow in the book of Luke.
Yes.
Super excited. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.